right,
Different,
man.
it's
Wow.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so welcome to our new global media talk show today. We have our guest here, Kemo Conteh, from is in China now, and we're gonna talk about uh, the relationship between China and the Gambia. That will be our main topic: China-Gambia relation. So, Chemo, you're gonna talk us through this relationship, and we're gonna be asking questions and um, also making some comment as we go along. So, I have my co-host Sam Ceesay from Indiana. Sam, United States.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. And
Thank you.
my other co-host here, Ousman Camara in the Gambia. Ousman, welcome.
Thank you.
And
Usman is
Famara will join us in a few. So let's jump right into it. Again, today is a beautiful day here in New York City. We just came from African Parade. Gambia won the championship. By the way,
wow.
guys, kudos to Gambia. We won the African championship yesterday, and then
Wow.
we just came
You
from.
guys are really, really representing us well.
Oh man, the Gambian flag is I mean it's also high. We have a very strong tournament here with Guinea. Like I say, champions, champions. The veterans always use their skills to win. So
Wow.
I was part of the organizing team for the African Advisory Council. At the same time, supporter because I started this team here to 2002. So now the team is in the hands of young folks, and then they're making big moves. So thank you. Just to inform you about that. Yeah.
Gambians are always great outside Gambia. I would say Gambians are always great, but outside Gambia,
Great.
they are
More so
greater.
outside the Gambia. You're definitely right about that. Great things are happening. And thanks to the internet, thanks to the social media, now these things are, looted everywhere. We have major success. But this is a big deal here. I'm just telling you, if you see some of the pictures we took and some of the celebration happening and how we are represented, it's just beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
But
Congratulations.
that being said, I think the most important thing now is when it comes to things like Gambia-China relations. So I guess you can just talk us through what is the inside of this, and what are the advantages and disadvantages, and what areas need to be covered so that our relationship can be tightening, and what are the give and takes, because any kind of relationship there are gives and takes. And I
Sure.
personally, I have a lot of question about this area because I know, like I have an idea about how our government works, but I want to make sure Gambia really, really benefits in this kind of relationship. So, Kemo, to take us through.
Thank you so
Is it
much. I just have to off my WhatsApp part of the network so that nobody will
Yeah.
disturb.
So the
Thank
other
you so much.
segment, I'm gonna once I get here from Sanneh. So at the latter segment, we're gonna have him come in. So, but for the meantime, let's just focus on this other topic. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this invitation. I must say that I'm very much grateful to my colleague Ousman Camara. Ousman is a good friend, though we spent just a period together at University of the Gambia before I left for my master's degree here in China at the China Foreign Affairs University. By the way, I must also tell you that I also took part in Model United Nations conference competition that took place here in Beijing. It brought together best students from about or more than 30 universities, including some universities outside China. And I happened to be the best diplomat, win the competition, happened to be awarded
Uh,
the best diplomat here in Beijing at the China Foreign
thank
Affairs
congrats.
University. So
Congrats
that's
to
why I
you.
say
Congrats to you.
Gambians are always great wherever they are. Though the country is small,
Congratulations.
but they are always great. So on the subject of China-Gambia relations, so usually when I looked at this, I know it's not a very, it's a very, very sensitive topic if you try to look at it from that perspective. But I always say this, the Gambia's relation with China is like a pendulum. It swings 3 consecutive times. Why I call it as a pendulum. It's like a pendulum that swings between across the strait. I mean, many of us currently who are in favor of a better relationship between Gambia and China call the relationship that we had with Taiwan as a so-called one. So immediately after independence in 1968, Sadauda Karabajawara wished to align Gambia's foreign policy with those of the Western colonialists at the time. He felt that Britain, being a liberal democracy, he could also choose Taiwan over mainland China, and he established our first diplomatic relationship when it comes to China, mainland China, and Taiwan with Taiwan. So this relationship was going on until China was admitted to its rightful place, that is the UN Security Council. And in 1971, many of you can remember, United Nations passed a resolution which kicked out Taiwan from the UN Security Council and from the General Assembly. And this was also powered by countries that are mainly from the third world or the developing world. They supported China in this, and China happened to assume the position of the Security Council.
Is it frozen?
Network, which was created in 1949 after the victory of the Communist Party, which was also created in the 1920s. So China, the People's Republic, now becomes the major or the sole recognized entity in the position of the whole of China at the United Nations. So when that happened, Gambia, under the leadership of Sadauda Kairaba, he also felt that, well, since China, the People's Republic, the mainland, the Beijing administrative part is the one recognized by the United Nations, then we are left with no option but to recognize that entity. So Gambia now shifted their relationship with mainland China. And this relationship was going fine. I mean, we remember when our first Foreign Affairs Minister, Alhaji Edin Jai, made a preparatory visit in China ahead of the coming of Sadauda Karabajawara, which was quite a very, very interesting meeting between Sadauda Karabajawara and Chairman Mao. It was a very fruitful meeting for the fact that immediately after Sadauda's return, we saw a major development initiative that China led in the Gambia. Among them is the establishment of our independent stadium, the friendship hostel, and other issues. China also contributed to the establishment of health centers such as Kuntaur, and other places. China started taking part actively in Gambia's developmental drive. So this relationship was going smooth until 1965. In 1994, when the young military officers took power, or seized power, let me use that word, from Sadauda, and they established their own militarized, I will call it as a militarized foreign civilian government later. So when that happened, but in 1994, when they seized power, according to history, as confirmed by Ceesay of National Center for Arts and Culture, China was the first country to reach out to the young military officers for the establishment of diplomatic relations. But Taiwan was also trying very well. Khalifa Saleh asserted in his book, Road to Self-Determination and Independence, he said that Taiwan was the first country, because according to him, Taiwan reached out to Gambia 6 days after the coup. But Ceesay confirmed that, in fact, China reached out to Gambia for the establishment or continuation of diplomatic relationship in the 3rd day of the coup. So that shows that China is the first country to reach out to Gambia before Taiwan. But Jammeh, as we all know him, he is kind of unpredictable. He's also very, very intelligent, but somehow diplomatically cunning. Sometimes he has to act like a Machiavellian. He has to be astute, adroit, and intelligent in terms of dealing with where his personal interest lies, not perhaps the interest of the country. So in 1995, Jammeh chose to establish a relationship with Taiwan against China. That means he had to, sever the existing relationship that existed between Gambia and China, which should have been a continuation, but now Jammeh ceased that relationship and reopened relationship with Taiwan. China also was not happy with that. They had to suspend all their developmental assistance to Gambia because they already had a medical team operating in the Gambia at that time. They had the agriculture experts that were helping the Gambian agriculture, farmers, and so forth. So they had to cease all those things. And then that relationship was going on until shortly before Jammeh was defeated at the poll by the joint opposition forces, leading to the formation of the coalition 2016. I don't know who advised Jammeh before your term end or your term is about to end. Can you re-establish a relationship with China? Because Jammeh, shortly before 2016 election, Jammeh, in 2013, before that, in 2013, he severed relationship with Taiwan without explaining to the National Assembly why he severed relationship with Taiwan. And again, even some oppositions like Ousmane Dabo tried to preempt what could be the reason for the severing of that relationship. But Jammeh never came out to tell us or to clarify what might have been the reason why he severed relationship with Taiwan. Jammeh remained muted on that. But I read from an Indian newspaper which suggested that Jammeh had money issue with Taiwan. Taiwan gave some money to him, which is about 300 million US dollars. Some said it's $300 million. I'm not certain with the amount of currency, but Taiwan was giving this money to Jammeh for Jammeh to do their bidding for him at the United Nations. Remember, Gambia was a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council in 1998. So at that time, Gambia was advocating for Taiwan, independent and so forth. And other countries like Cuba and some of the separatist regions, Gambia was giving that kind of voice to them. But to some point, Taiwan felt that the monies that they have been giving to Jammeh, Jammeh is not putting it rightly. They felt that Jammeh is using this money for his own political entrenchment or in order to empower himself and his party. So according to the Indian newspaper, the question is about where that money is supposed to be put to. And Jammeh felt that that threatened or that attack his sovereignty and his independence and his untouchable status as the president of the Gambia. So he had to sever a relationship with them. And I think this statement was also emphasized by Ousmane Dabo in one of his interviews with, I think, with a local newspaper. So, but Jammeh never told us what is the reason. And National Assembly also, at the time, it was a rubber stamp, we all knew at the time, they were not having any power to, or even if they had power legally, until today they have that power, they could not bother themselves to investigate something like that because they all know the type of leader we had at the time. So, but shortly before the 2016 election, Jammeh re-established a relationship with the mainland China. So, but the relationship was also officialized after the 2016 elections. Adama Barrow, before he came here, the Chinese Foreign Affairs Minister, through the Chinese embassy in Banjul, sent congratulatory message to Barrow, and of course the Chinese Foreign Affairs Minister Wang Yi came to Banjul, and then then our then Foreign Affairs Minister Ousmane Dabo also made a visit to China. According to Ousmane Dabo, even the issue of Passé Bridge was negotiated as a result of his visit and so forth. And then later in 2018, Barrow attended the FOCAC there, Forum on China-Africa Relations, and relationship got better, stronger. And today, as we could see, China is devoting to solidify and revamp and strengthen her relationship with many of the third world countries, particularly those in Africa. So this South-South relationship is getting a new footage of solidity to ensure that it cannot be threatened or it cannot be compromised by, I mean, the Western forces. Remember, the West now their position in Africa is becoming threatened a little bit due to the Chinese advancements in the region and in terms of how they are cooperating with African countries and their infrastructural drives, which is powered by Belt and Road Initiative and others. So what we see is the renewal of relationship based on the footage that is quite strong, and China is actually taking over in their own foreign policy language of win-win basis. So, I mean, China is now overshadowing the Western influence in Africa. But again, I mean, as we all know, foreign policy is about reciprocity. It's about you give me this and I also get this. So, of course, in as much as most of these third world countries or developing world are interested in Chinese technology, they are interested in Chinese infrastructure, as we are seeing. I mean, the construction of bridges, construction of roads, construction of conference centers, construction of dams, and so forth. Um, China also has interest in the resources that is actually embedded in this developing world. And as you could see, in the Gambia, fishing corporations fishing agreements were signed between the Republic of the Gambia and People's Republic of China, and they're also benefiting from that fisheries resources. Gambia also is benefiting from, I mean, technical assistance, educations, infrastructural development. I think the relationship is quite good at this point in time. Both countries are benefiting, and both countries are treating each other based on the principle of their own foreign policy alignments, such as non-intervention, such as respect for sovereign equality, which will mean in the context of China, the one China policy. And I think Gambia is very, very firm when it comes to respecting the one China policy. And I believe that should be the case, because you cannot recognize the position of China and yet also you want to talk about other issues that compromises that one China idea, one China principle. I think that would be sort of a kind of a diplomatic misstep. So what we are seeing right now is a very, very solidified relationship between Gambia and China. And I think our relationship is now tilted to a direction where it is going to be widened, because I think in the next few days, we are going to receive the whole of Gambia National Assembly in Beijing here. They will be trained by Chinese experts. I mean, Gambian journalists left here. Some of them are already in the country. Some of them are currently in Beijing. They are receiving some trainings. I mean, Chinese also are always traveling to Banjul, and then that diplomatic, subtle diplomacy is getting another direction. So I think what we are seeing now is a relationship that is solidified, and of course, it's getting to a directions of perhaps mutual understanding. And I think as it is going now, both countries are happy with each other's, way of up. And I think our relationship is taking a very strong dimension. Thank you.
Thank you so much for putting that together, Kemo. We just want to jump in here because you have touched different areas, and you have also mentioned the eras, of before Jammeh, how the relationship was, and how close Gambia and China were during Jawara's time, and the changes happened when Jammeh came to power. But at the end, also Jammeh started to, sweep back to building relationship with China. Now, I just want you to highlight for our viewers what are the benefits of this relationship on the side of the Gambians and the Gambia as a whole, and on the side of the Chinese, because in any relationship there's give and take, and we just don't want to build a relationship just because of the name of relationship. There must be tangible measures how the relationships are beneficial to the citizen. Otherwise, there are a lot of ways that this foreign relationship could create room for exploitation, either our human resources or natural resources, or our culture or our way of lives. So we need to look at tangibly this relationship. If we can go one by one, what are these and the benefits?
So I already mentioned historically how China. So let me look at it from the perspective of the benefits that Gambia had been gaining from China right before Jammeh ceased the relationship with China and turned into a so-called relationship with Taiwan. So, like I said, infrastructure-wise, China had heavily invested in Gambia's infrastructure. If you look at the Gambia's Independence Stadium, which was built by China, including the Friendship Hostel, roads, as well as the hospitals like Kuntaur, and three other hospitals, and as well as Fajikunda, and other infrastructural initiative led by China in the Gambia. This infrastructure has, I mean, improved the life of many, many Gambians. If we talk about the Independence Stadium, until today, that remains as the only independent stadium of the Gambia. In fact, it's the only stadium in the country. I mean, when it was undergoing rehabilitation, we all actually experienced some of the kind of international outcry and even the domestic criticisms that our government had been under until we were given approval to play football there. So, I mean, that had actually been a very, very symbolic, not only symbolic, but of course has also contributed to the development of sporting activities in the country. Now, talking about the health centers, I mean, Gambia, even the time of Jawara, we all know health, I mean, care was a problem for many Gambians. So having hospital as far as Kuntaur, I think that also improved the life of, or the health condition of the people living within the hinterland. So uh, after the re-establishment of relationships, let me talk about different sectors. Now, if you talk about infrastructure, we've seen the expansion, the road expansion project uh, at the Badin had leading to the OIC. I mean, of course, if you talk about aid could include loans and grants. They're all part of aid because if I need money now, I mean, your timely intervention to help me to build something, even though I'm going to repair that or whatever, is also an aid according to international standard or international best practices or definitions. So China's timely intervention established that conference center for Gambia. Look, the conference center was completed even before the conference time was due. And now the government of the Gambia, in fact, decided to use the conference center for other activities in order to generate revenue right before the conference took place. That not only create employment for Gambians that actually are employed there, but of course also it also created an avenue for many national discourse or international discourse, which aim at improving the status of Gambia at that place. So, talking about the health sector, right, even during the time of Jawara, China dispatched their health theme to Banjul. They've been treating people at places where, in fact, we never imagined that we were going to have a foreign medical team there to be helping our people. So, I mean, that is also part of the ways of benefits that actually also improve the health condition of many Gambians. Talks about education. I mean, today, many of us, I mean, China has trained over 1,300 Gambians since the re-establishment of relationship in 2017, and over 200 Gambian students, both masters and PhD or undergraduates, are currently on Chinese scholarship to study here in China. So that means the building of the capacity of Gambians, the training of Gambians to contribute meaningfully to their own national development is part of the benefits that Gambia is gaining. Agriculture sector, Chinese investors in agriculture sector is visible in the CRR, the banana plantation that they're working on, the agriculture extension workers that were in the Gambia here during the time of Jawara to work under the scorching suns to help the Gambian farmers, to advise them technically as to how they will conduct their agriculture activities. Had also contributed to the development of several varieties of rice in the country, and had also contributed to our drives towards not achieving food self-sufficiency in the words of Jammeh, but of course had also contributed towards improving the food security of many of our rural dwellers. So if you looked at it from the perspective of health, I've mentioned that, agriculture, I've mentioned that, infrastructure, I've mentioned that, China has massively contributed to Gambia's development. Now, on the side of China, how China also benefit, of course, China. And in fact, I don't talk about trade. Trade is a very, very key area that today Gambia is among the list of developing countries that are currently enjoying duty-free trade with China. And today, if you go to Gambian markets, you go to Gambian streets, most of the goods you see are imported from China here. And that has also boosted the economic status of many Gambians, because a lot of Gambians that have a little bit of resources, they will all, rush to China here, Guangdong, Shanghai, and other places, and buy their goods and import them to Gambia and further sell them at prices that can improve their economic standard. So the relationship is quite very, very beneficial. Now, what China is enjoying from Gambia, of course, we actually saw Chinese fish plants in the Gambia, and then of course Chinese are also fishing in the Gambian waters to ensure that they also improve their protein level in their own country, because China is not endowed with a lot of fish resources, so they will have to partner with countries like Gambia to be able to get that. So, and of course, also we show many of our sand minings also, most of those mineral resources also come to China. And also we show the case of the timber business, which had existed. These are all raw material that China is also interested in, because right now, I think the biggest thing that China is interested in her relationship with Africa is the resources that they need. Because, China's technological advancement, China's economic development drive cannot also be sustained without this rare earth material that they need in order to supply their industries for their development. So their relationship with Africa is, in this case, we provide developmental assistance to you through infrastructure, through technology, through so and so, and in return, we also get these resources. And, that is how the reciprocity is based on. It's give and take. That is what diplomacy is all about. So Gambia benefit, China benefit, in this case. So, the relationship is between Banjul and Beijing, or between China and Gambia, is a win-win. But again, also, people should underline this word. When we say win-win, it doesn't mean that it's equal, benefit. That doesn't exist anywhere in the world. So one will benefit more than another. So it's also left to our diplomatic.
Who is benefiting more in your analysis?
In my analysis, between Gambia, particularly between Gambia and China, I feel that Gambia is benefiting more from China than China is benefiting from Gambia. If you should compare in terms of ratio, the resources that China is getting from East African countries compared to Gambia is minimal. Is minimal. So I think even in the education sector alone, the number of people that China is staying and educating here in China and taking them back to Gambia is actually impressive. Talk about other areas of intervention, and I believe Gambia is benefiting more in her relationship with China than China is benefiting from Gambia.
Okay, all right. I will allow my panelists to come in. Sam and Ousman, uh, because some people can disagree on this notion that Gambia is benefiting more. However, we can explore that further. Yeah, Ousman and, and Sam, you can come in.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kemo. Thank you. We really appreciate you very much in getting a good look at Gambia and China's relationship and the benefits involved in both for both countries. And I, um, I think looking on the side of the Gambia, yes, we are definitely benefiting from China. And China, and of course, keeping in mind that China is investing in Gambia for a return on their investment. They also have things that they want to get out of Gambia, which they are getting. In some cases, I'm not sure how we can evaluate the benefit standards between the two countries. And if you say Gambia is benefiting more than China is, then I would agree with that. I think I would agree with that based on all the facts that you said. However, my part is this is a good thing. Any country to have diplomatic relationships with other countries, especially countries that are developing and they are not at a certain standard yet, and wants to get there, wants to achieve those standards and be at that international level of trade, diplomacy, and all the other things. I think one of the things that come to my mind is um, when Gambia has such an advantage and such an opportunity, I'll call it. This is an opportunity that has been with Gambia for a long time. I don't understand why we cannot capitalize and get China to build us something. Every poor country needs to build self sustainability. That's very, very important. Gambia being such a poor country, um, we are not self-sufficient. There are certain things that we can't do. We can't feed our own people. We cannot supply electricity to our own people enough for our own people. Water supply is limited as well. Food is limited. What we can do, and if we're dealing with a superpower like China, I don't understand why our government does not go to the next level and try to get one of the most important things for us. Yeah, roads are very good. Infrastructure is very good. And helping with education are all very good. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think, like they say, you know, uh, um, before giving somebody fish every day, why don't you show them how to get fish themselves and be sustainable, be able to feed themselves? That's important. So, where I'm going with this is cost of living is very high in Gambia. And if we look at Gambia predominantly, almost every household in the Gambia, it may not be everybody, but I'm just saying predominantly, most households in the Gambia, I'll say at least 90% of Gambians eat rice every day. That's our daily meal. Some will eat it maybe 2 or 3 times a day. They will eat at least twice a day for lunch and dinner. If you go up in the river, maybe in the Combo area, they may not eat. They are uh, more of at a standard where some people in the Combo area may say they don't want to eat rice every day. They don't want to eat rice for dinner. They want something else. But if you go to the majority of the country, they don't have those opportunities. They don't have those choices. They have to eat rice for lunch and rice in the evening, right? If they can afford it. Now, what I don't understand is why our government not capitalize on this and try to get China to come and build factory in our country that is going to help us to reestablish projects like Jahar Prachar. Jahar Prachar has always been my favorite thing that I talk about a lot, so that we can utilize Jahar Prachar to produce enough rice to feed the whole country. And if we get to the next, if we have surplus after feeding everybody, which is going to bring the cost of rice down big time because it's produced in Gambia. not the rice not the rice from China or Taiwan or Vietnam or India, but rice produced in Gambia, no shipping and handling involved. So definitely the cost of rice should really go down. I won't get into all the details I said about Jaha, but I'm looking at that as a potential um, economic boost for Gambia if we can just get that one thing right and reestablish Jaha to a point where the production is more than the demand. Once we get to that, we can now turn around and say, all right, now we have enough food for Gambia that is going to feed the people until we have surplus. Now, the surplus can go in two different directions. One can be exported to the nearby countries, but to me, most importantly, before we start exporting out, we should think about building a flour factory in the Gambia where we can utilize that surplus rice and produce flour, because again, most people would eat bread for breakfast, right? So getting rice produced, flour rice produced in the Gambia in a flour factory that supplies every community, all the hotels and all the industries and restaurants and all that stuff, in the bakeries, that also helps us and help the small business to get the cost of flour down to a very affordable price, which also results in the cost of bread going down. You see what I'm saying? If the cost
Very
of bread goes down, this now is it will be en route to making Gambia self-sustainable in food, because we can have all of those or made in the Gambia, and makes the cost of living a lot reasonable for the poor people. That's what I wanted to contribute. Thank you, though.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you so much, Sam. That's quite brilliant. And I think that I was waiting question on that. I don't know whether I'm audible. Somebody just called me, but I had to.
Yeah,
pause
you
the
are
call.
audible. You are audible. Yes.
Yeah, you are
Yes.
audible.
You see, diplomacy is an art, and it requires tact, intelligence, adroitness, in the words of Machiavelli, astuteness, as well as even rudeness. If you just want to get something for your country, if you want to serve your interests. China is not, in as much as China is willing to promote South-South cooperation to create, in the words of Chinese government, to create a global community of shared future. We cannot still say that China is a charitable organization. China is a country that has interests. China is not Mother Teresa. China is not Father Christmas. And any country in the world, in terms of international diplomacy, in terms of foreign policy interactions through diplomacy, no country portrays itself as Mother Teresa or as Father Christmas. That means every country needs rational actors in their foreign affairs. We need critical thinkers in our foreign affairs who will be able to diplomatically argue and fight for our interests. I mean, you'll be surprised to know that sometimes some of these development initiatives you see China doing in the Gambia, China, in fact, will walk to the offices of some of our ministers and tell them that we want to do this thing for you. And they will intervene and do it for you. I usually speak with the China's deputy head of mission at the Chinese embassy in Banjul. We discuss so many things about Gambia on a weekly basis. I mean, even the ambassador will call me time to time. We'll discuss issues. But I understand that we need proactive diplomacy to be able to, I mean, diplomacy is not, a solo business. It's not about a business of passionality. It's about representing the very fundamental core of your national interest. And the way you do that with activeness and selflessness in terms of defending the interests of your country. But you do it with selfishness in terms of getting certain things from others in order to benefit your people. So that means the Foreign Affairs Ministry of the Gambia has to tighten their belts to be able to, interact with the international community in a way that serves the interests of the Gambia. Sometimes I find it very complicated to understand. If you are looking at a sector that is somehow downplayed bits in terms of appointments in the Gambia, is the foreign mission. Sometimes, Mr. President or even Jammeh used to do that. If, for example, you feel that you are uncomfortable with someone within your cabinet, within your circle, you felt to, you can say, I relieve Sam. Sam is now being sent to Cuba or sent to Guinea-Bissau as the Gambia's ambassador. Now, sometimes people feel that
Yeah.
diplomacy or foreign appointment is just a place for you to go and relax. So I'm not saying that that is how the Gambia's ambassador to China is doing, but I am saying that if you want to interact with a country that is as benevolent, as proactive, China has one of the most proactive diplomacy in the whole world. I was listening to Mansakunda, I heard Momodou Tangara saying this, Dr. Momodou Tangara, the Honorable Minister for Foreign. He said he admired Chinese diplomats so much, Turkish diplomats and Indian diplomats, because he said they know, he said that those people, they know what to say. And they are so professional and so diplomatic. Meaning, not only do they know what to say, but they understand the art of diplomacy. So if you are dealing with a country like China that has enormous interest in terms of the South-South cooperation, and you are not only the global South country that is dealing with that country, you need to tighten your diplomatic pendulum to be able to attract such a benevolent country to respond to your national needs in the way you actually, or your people want it. And I believe if Gambians play their card well in their diplomatic intercourse with China, we are going to benefit a lot from China. Imagine this MOFCOM scholarship. That's MOFCOM scholarship, which, they're about to have interview. I am a beneficiary of that scholarship. The ambassador was telling me that, we thought many of your people could apply for this, but why is it that? So I feel that Gambians are the ones sitting on their own things. We could have actually benefited a lot from China, and China is willing to give that to Gambia. I don't like making this comparison between China and the Western powers when the West is dealing. China has this idea of non-interference into the domestic business. That's why even when they are dealing with a dictator, you can be a dictatorship, they will deal with you still. Unlike the West, that who actually supports come with conditionalities, as we show in the recovery programs of the IMF and the World Bank. China is a different country when it comes to that. It has little, if there is any, interest in your domestic business, which sometimes we can criticize or we can argue about. But the facts always remain this: China wants a country that is also proactive, and you are interested in the development of your people. So I think in order for us to be able to attract, China has a lot of experts, especially when it comes to the rice cultivation. We can still engage the Chinese government to be able to send us more experts who will be feeling, because for us, we have our own NARI that's supposed to be there to ensure that varieties are developed, that's supposed to be empowered, that's supposed to be uplifted, to be able to develop more rice varieties, to be able to feed our people. Rice that you can plow within a short period of time, you can harvest them within a short period of time. With mechanized system, even though we are weak in that area, but we still have people. China is willing to help us. They did it during the Fourth Republic. Many of our rural people can tell you that Chinese will come and but it helped them. It helped them. Gambia was on the verge. In fact, before the IMF recovery program, we were told that Gambia was on the verge of achieving rural food self-sufficiency in terms of rice cultivation. But all this is, Chinese were at Jahal Pachar during those days. They were helping our farmers there as to how they can develop their varieties, how they can ensure that they boost their harvest and so forth. So I think if we have a proactive diplomacy that will be willing to engage China constructively, based on selflessness, I think we can get more from China in order to attain our food self-sufficiency.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about, engaging and making sure that we get what we need for our country by looking at the big picture, not what was going to feed us today. We want something that's going to feed us and go beyond that. So at the end of the day, that's exactly what I was talking about. The diplomacy that's going to be proactively looking for vested interest in China, one way or the other, whether it's They could always start with the help, and help could be in the form of free assets or even loans. If you think about all the loans that Gambia took, I mean, we could have achieved this goal of getting to what I was talking about. But I'm going to allow Ousman also to come in. Thank you, though, for your time. Thank you.
Yeah. Before Ousman come in, just 1 minute, I want to say that I have been observing our diplomatic appointments or foreign missions. I used to use my own phrase close to describe it. I call it as a dustbin. Which is actually there to actually cater for undesirable elements within the president in a circle or within the places that the president feels that he's comfortable with them. And that has been the case. I mean, I know of some of the missions in the Gambia. I mean, those missions can bring a lot of things for Gambia. I mean, Tangara admitted that he understands that political appointments has cost us a lot, but even though some of our political appointees are doing well, but I think all these matters need to be looked into. That's why I love his message when he said that they want to restructure the system and ensure that people who are appointed or people who come to the foreign service actually get the requisite training, they have the requisite experience, maybe they can even introduce examination. Those who will pass that exam. But since them as Foreign Affairs Ministry has no power of that appointment, it has to come to Public Service Commission. I mean, PMO. I think there can be so many political factors to that. But I think, I mean, Gambia can go if we have a very proactive, I mean, very active, very productive foreign service is going to help us a lot. Because we are doing great when it comes to multilateralism. We are contributing to UN human rights. We are contributing. I mean, if you go to the United Nations, government names are there. If you go to Africa, Addis Ababa, we are doing great there. But what about the bilateral aspect? We need to improve that part.
Yeah, we don't have the right people, the competent people in the right positions. That's what I said. That's why I mentioned that in my proposal for comprehensive civil service reform. But anyway, I won't take too much time. Thank you. You're on the right track. Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. We're going to let
thank you so much,
Ousman,
yes, Sam Ceesay, thank you so very much. And of course, Mr. Sawaneh, thank you sincerely. And of course, Kemo in Beijing, thank you for joining this program. It has been very fruitful and the discussion has been so educative and so entertaining as well. I just want to take you through, let's look at the environment. I think China has significantly contributed a lot with the area of, as you stated earlier, education, health, and of course, you talk about human development. Especially, I'm quite very impressed with the area of their scholarship package that they are giving to the Gambian citizens, of course, studying across the world or typically of course, in China. Now, I am so much interested with the sea. I think China, they are interested in the Gambian sea, the fishes that they are catching here, and of course, exported into China. I don't know what is their relationship or what are the conditions or conditionalities there, but significantly, when you come to Combo South, like say, in Katong, in Gunjur, the fishes that are catch here and some of the ones that are disposed, environmental damages that they are currently doing here, definitely. I don't know what is the magnitude of the damage. Sometimes is quite very irritating. So, what is the relationship, or what is the actual relationship in terms of the diplomacy or the interest base between the Gambia and China? But that path, I significantly think we need to reconsider it. So, do you have any idea, basically, on the side of the sea relations between the Gambia and then, of course, China?
Yeah, thank you so much. Relationship or bilateral agreements formally take place between governments, and China's diplomatic stance towards Gambia has always been a good one. But when diplomatic accords are reached, agreements are reached on fisheries corporations, you also have companies that are operating, even though they are Chinese companies, But sometimes governments or officials or diplomats don't have direct oversight over those companies. And companies can act in a ways that are not in line with the cooperation or the agreements. And when these things happens, it actually serves as a kind of a bridge to those diplomatic agreements or corporations. So it is the responsibility of both the host states or the receiving states where the Chinese embassy is located to look at this matter together and resolve it. Because for me, I used to have this Western propaganda in my head before I came to China. I felt that Chinese are very bad when it comes to the environment until when I came to Beijing. So, and also I learned that, China still remain as a party to the Paris Climate Accord. Today, if you come to Beijing here, which used to be one of the polluted, provinces or cities in the world, today, Beijing remains one of the cleanest in terms. The air, the atmosphere. Beijing is a very clean place. Everywhere is green. China is very committed towards ensuring that we live in a world where environment is protected. And I believe in one thing, because I learned a lot from Chinese since I came here. Even at the university, many of my colleagues there, they felt that I'm a kind of a westernized person, I'm more of a British guy and so on. I used to have so many doubts in my head about China, but when I came to China, I learned that these people, in fact, the West don't understand China. China knows more about West than West know about China. Chinese are responsible global citizens. That one, I can say that with certainty. And I believe you can have private companies, you can have Chinese companies that are affiliated to the government, operating on seas, doing acts there that are not in line with the Chinese government stand. And when these things happen, both countries have to come together. One thing I like about Chinese, they are so law-abiding, especially when they are in their own country, and they will never go against their own government's directives. If, for example, what they are doing is wrong, and then those governments, their government actually asks them to conform themselves in line with the standards, or the best practices. So I think before we take it far, when some of these things are brought to the knowledge of the stakeholders, I believe both countries can come together and resolve that and continue the bilateral relationship. We've seen many countries, especially Western countries, who will have bilateral relationship with other African countries even without consulting them on certain things. They will be doing certain things that fringe upon the actual diplomatic relationship. So even if Chinese companies should actually act in a way that fundamentally sift the actual latter and the spirit of the diplomatic accord, I think there's a way to look at it and there's a way to resolve it. And I believe Chinese government will not in any way, form, or shape want to compromise their relationship with Gambia based on some of the wrongs that their companies are doing in the Gambia. They can actually call their companies to order so that they do things in line with the environment standard. And I believe we can actually achieve this. And I understand that in the Congo South area, there had been so many damages to the environment there, which according to many has been or had been caused by, I don't know whether it's still happening there, caused by the fish mill companies that are operating around that place. But I still feel that both governments can come together to resolve this issue and to maintain to look at the broader picture of the bilateral relationship. I was also an advocate for, engage in this corporate, because this can all be part of the agreement, the fisheries agreement between China and the Gambia, to ensure that, like Khalifa Sallah will always say, every vessel we have, Gambians, they should make sure that we have a certain percentage of Gambians working in that vessel to be able to improve your capacity, to be able to improve your fishing skills, so that we can have a time frame when the time frame expires, when they are leaving. It can be part of the agreement that those vessels and those fishing trawlers be moved to the Gambian youth so that they can also continue that process. So, but all that requires, it all bow down to diplomacy. It all bow down to how you can negotiate. I mean, if you have a Chinese fishing company operating on the Gambian Sea, at the around the coastal settlements of Sanyang, Tanje, Tujerang, and other places, but yet, I mean, if you go to a certain part of the world, settlements along the coast, their comparative advantage is their seawater and their fish. Now, even if there's a university around that place, the young people of that communities has to learn how to become very prosperous fishermen or whatever, how to use fish product in order to improve their lives and livelihoods. Now, if you go to these areas, you find a lot of men there who cannot fish. They can only go and use their small trawlers or, small, fishing material and catch one or two fish and just go and eat it. But they don't have that broader skill about fishing. So it can be part of the negotiation for these fishing companies to employ a particular percentage of these young people, working with them, later transfer the skill to them, and later also give them one or two fishing boats or whatever. So all those things can happen. And environmental safeguards, while those people are working with them, will also be preserved better. And I think both government can address this, but all bow down to diplomacy. And I hope the government of Gambia will rethink and actually come up with ideas or solutions, to resolve some of those issues there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so very much. Mr. Sam Ceesay, I think we are left with 4 minutes and then of course of our time. We can over to you, Mr. Sams. Mr. Sawaneh, please.
Yes. So yeah, we are about 4 minutes for the hour, and then our second phase. I don't think Jax will come, even though I sent him a text message. Now, I just want us to look at this before we wrap it up, because Ousman has highlighted definitely the key areas that I want to speak about, which is the exploitation in the sea, and of course, that's the biggest one, and then the factories around Sanyang, and then the effect on our soil, some of their disposables, and then our fish been dying on the sea. Those who've been there with the fishermen, fishing with this Chinese, they saw it, they witnessed, what happens. They're taking this fish to their pigs and stuff like that. That the human population can benefit from controlling our sea. And I understand all what Kemo has said about the opportunities in terms of scholarship, in terms of health, and so forth. But you know what? I think we what we lack. We are not self-reliant. We are very dependable as a country, and that mindset has caused us to look for cheap ways, to prosper, like going abroad, studying. I'm not saying that that's not bad. That's bad, but the fact of the matter is, the finding the know-how, and then the physical, not only theoretical knowledge, but the physical knowledge to apply it on our soil and re-educate others with the protocol or with the prototype or with the blueprint, so that we can build on that. That's what we lack. If you look at our fishing system, our Gambian fishermen, they just there to catch baby fish. They don't even like they are the end product, not even the actually the main people. If you look at that, if you look at years before Jammeh era, also, our fishermen used to definitely give us the fish we need. If you go to Gambia now to get good fish, it's really a hassle. You go to Tanje, you go to other places, everybody's struggling. The fish even fish becoming an issue. Back in the days, furrow and everything, I can just dip my hand in the pond and take a furrow out, and go and cook it home. Nyankarol and other things, our rivers are well protected. There was no, damages, and then you can find this fish, Kujalolu, Tambajawolo. I go and fish, within 1 hour, my bucket is full, So we are naturally, sorry. naturally, having everything that we need. So this is the situation that I think need attention, and I think moving forward, our government, our leaders, are really needed to do much work. Our problem here is leadership. The reason why we are behind, in everything is leadership. We tend to go for cheap negotiations. Oh, here is field scholarship. Oh, we can build your hospital. Oh, we can do. Chinese people are smart. Whatever they're giving you, they're gonna get more of that. That's just the
Yes.
nature of these folks, and that's how they.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they are where they are today. Our people don't read contracts. If you look at some of the contracts they design, you put it in front of the president, he just come over. More, yeah, Ntuldu. What are our cuts? We're gonna get, maybe quarter percentage. Boom, that project is implemented without knowing the effect of it on the long run. you know. So these are some of the loopholes that are affecting us. We are looking at the grand scale instead of micro. Looking at it from this a microscopic point of view to know what it entails, what are the like the end results, what is the impact of future implication, and also why this, what are they getting out of it. They're only looking at what they are getting out of it, our leaders, and agree with some of these contracts, but they're not looking at what are they getting. I want to know what you are getting out of it, because what I'm getting out of it might not be equate. It might not be equal to what you're getting out of it. No. I'm not going to that direction. In any negotiation, I either be into on top because you come to me, or we leave it like that, and then I look into other solutions. So it's a lot of things, that we are facing. And then Chinese are making bases everywhere. You go to Jamaica, you have Chinatown. You go to the United States, even in New York. I'm pretty sure some sister will tell you there's a Chinatown in Indiana. You go to Washington D.C. These people, the government is dictatorial government, like you said. They put on policies, and here it is go executed. The government funded. You take your share, you give back to the government what is given. That's how they operate. That's why they build Chinatown everywhere in the United States, Jamaica, all over the country. I'm pretty sure Gambia even have a Chinatown. So all I'm
Yeah.
trying to say, don't need to take away from the mighty China, but what we need to do as a nation, let's learn the skills and look to incorporate it in our system, and we do it ourselves. Let's learn the skills from them. They can come and teach and get the knowledge, the blueprint, and implement it in terms of every structure that we're doing. Because if we don't cut on aid, if we are beggars, like they said, begging these folks, we will never do it on our own. Our own issue is we are comfortable. We want comfort. We want easy way out. We want to go get scholarship, come, whatever the case might be. But that's behind the scholarship. Do you know what are the trade-off? We never really looked at that. So this is
Yeah.
why I want to say there is a lot of catch in this deal and this relationship that the average citizens are not looking at. And again, we are here to enlighten the populace, and I stand because by what Kemo said, those are all sounds positive, but there are other side that is not covered that we need to also uncover. So that will be
Yeah.
my addition to this, and I will let Kemo come in, and then Sam
Well,
can come in one more time,
yeah,
and then Kemo can
yeah.
close us. Yeah.
Let's since we are up to time, let me say my final words and then allow Kemo to say his final words. Let him close it
Okay.
since he's the guest, so that we're not doing it the other way around. But yeah, I wanted to touch on that part. The environmental damage. This is something I've addressed, something that I've talked about so many times. I've talked about fishing trawlers. I've talked about any contractor coming to Gambia to make sure Gambian citizens are part of that, are involved in there. They have a certain percentage that would improve Gambians. I've also talked about Gambian government that can also acquire or purchase fishing trawlers and allow Gambian youth to go out and fish in the river and fish. So at the end of the day, what Kemo was talking about and what Ousman was talking about, I think the solution is ourselves. We are the problem, not the Chinese people, because Chinese people know that when they come to America, they're going to follow the regulations, right? The Chinese people know in their own country, they've got to follow regulations. Well, we don't have those type regulations in the Gambia that we want them to follow. If we do, we're not holding them accountable. I think what needs to happen is environmental damage is not acceptable anywhere. All right, it's not acceptable. So things that I've proposed and I've talked about in the past is to make sure that that contract, anytime we're doing a contract with foreigners, foreign companies, to make sure we have very strict measures there, things that is just aligned with what they do in their own country, things that we will also hold ourselves accountable to make sure we hold them accountable by inspecting them and taking corrective actions. For example, if an environmental agency visits a place like China, what the Chinese are doing in along the side of our river there, they're going to find a lot of violations that should be noted and be also giving swift actions. For example, get in there and say, you know what, number one, any violation that's a critical violation must be addressed within 24 hours. Any major violations, you give them 7 days to correct it. If not, you can come back and take further actions. Minor violations can go up to give them about 30 days. But our environmental agency need to be going back there and follow up on their own words based on the rules and regulations of that contract, to go back there and say, is this done? Check over to really follow up things that you wrote for them to finish to fix. If they don't fix, take more disciplinary actions, including fines and termination of their license. Because I don't think this has anything to do with Chinese government. These are contractors from China that are operating in our country, catching fish and taking it to China, right? They're catching smaller fish that they're killing and just leaving it, dumping it on our site. That they are not going to do in China. They're not going to do in Washington, in the United States. They will not be allowed to do in Europe or UK, anywhere. So why are they doing it in Gambia? Because we allowed it. The solution is we need to tighten that and stop allowing nonsense from any foreign country, and stop allowing nonsense from any Gambian either, if we want to follow to make sure we tighten our environment to avoid environmental damage to our people. So the ball is in our court. We are the ones that need to do it. I don't think proper contracts have been written. If they were written for these people, they're not being followed. And that's part of the problem. So that's or part of the solution for this. So thank you, and I'll stop here.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Kemo, your final words, and then we can close. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sam, for that brilliant submission. I think that goes a long way to further validate my position. You know, for me, I have this feeling, no country is a charitable organization in the world. Every country, stand for your own interests. If we are having bilateral relationship with China, China will do everything possible to protect their interests, and Gambia must also protect her interests. Now, China does not enter relationship because, having to enter relationship with Gambia, and yet you are going to commit certain acts in the Gambia that will threaten that particular relationship, is going against your interests. And I'm not sure China, with all their rationality, with all their, intelligence, they will want to enter relationship with Gambia that will threaten their very fundamental interests. They will not actually want that. So, and every country has laws, rules, regulations. If Chinese fishing companies are operating in the Gambia, there are laws in the Gambia. There are, environmental laws in the Gambia, which must be protected, which must be abide by, whether you are a foreigner or you are a Gambian. So if we have international fishing companies is operating in your country and they disrespect that law. I mean, Gambia is full of lawyers, Gambia is full of legal experts, Gambia is full of, police and all those people. They know what to do. But fundamentally, I think this happened to every country, or this can happen to any country. You can enter relationship with a particular country. They can be operating in your jurisdiction, and they do certain things that actually are not serving your interest. But that should not actually call for severing of relationship. That should be a point of adjustment for all of you. And I feel that China is very much interested. Likewise, Gambia, for the development of global South. China is today the greatest player when it comes to global multilateralism. Chinese, like I said, are responsible global citizens, and now we've seen Chinese how they are engaging with the world in terms of multilateralism, in terms of bilateralism, in terms of corporations within the South-South domains that aim at a win-win situation. So I think China is one of the countries that Gambia can ensure that we improve our relationship. But of course, we need good diplomacy to be able to preserve that relationship on the basis of win-win. So I think I will stop here, and I must commend NGM. This is a great pleasure and opportunity for me to share with our audience the relationship Gambia and China, and the direction of the relationship and things that have been accomplished and things that we're working on. And I thank all of you for your wonderful work that you've been doing, because these are some of the things we need. You cannot develop a country without building an informed citizenry. The citizens need to be informed. They need to know what are things going on both domestically and internationally. They need to know things happen even at the foreign policy domain, to be able to acquaint themselves with the basic requisite skills that will help them to actually track the complex terrain of the international system. And I think that's what the GNM has been doing. I commend all of you to keep up this great work. I know sometimes it can be difficult to always create time for this, but it's a commendation to all of you that having been far away in the United States and other countries, yet we are maintaining this touch with the Gambian populace, informing them about what's happening. So I think it's something that needs to be commended, and I commend all of you for this great work. And thank you all from Beijing.
Yeah, no, we thank you so much for taking the time, especially this odd hours of yours. In China, in Beijing, is a completely different time from the United States, of course. So we thank you. We really thank you for taking the time and joining this call. You made a big difference here, enlightening people about this particular topic. Very, very good job. So thank you so much.
For sure.
Thank you for thank you so much. I'm also on the road, but I said, I gotta take this hour to, just like Sam usually do when he's on the road. We are obliged to serve our community, our people in terms of enlightenment and all of that. So even though I came from this point, but I said, let me do this. So thank you so much, Kemo, for taking your time. And again, we will catch with you. Excellent work. And of course, Sam Ceesay, as usual, thank you for coming, and your contributions are always huge. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, viewers. Yeah. Take care.
Yeah.